Hi everyone!
Hi.
We're back again. It's a bit brighter later on in the morning, but not that much since our last video.
No.
We've had breakfast, we're recharged, so we want to film some more for you.
I needed breakfast.
Yeah, so did I. I needed it too. But yeah, we're very full. We've had a really good breakfast. So this is a video that Laura wanted to do specifically because of something that she's listened to recently on Audible.
Oh my god! Okay, Romeo and Juliet is my favourite play, and I have no shame.
Favourite Shakespeare play, or just favourite play overall?
Favourite Shakespeare play.
Shakespeare play, right.
I have no shame about that. I know that there's a lot of, oh my god, insta-love, and all that stuff, but there is so much more in Romeo and Juliet than that. Anyway, on Sunday, I was home by myself, and I thought, I have Audible, and I love Audible, because you pay $7.99 a month, and you get a credit from them, and you can spend that credit on whatever. And they also have free titles that you can download as an Audible member.
They're like Audible originals, so you can only access on Audible. So, because since Laura's mentioned this, I've tried looking up this particular drama, and you cannot get it anywhere apart from Audible.
And I, let me find it. I downloaded this that I had absolutely no expectation of at all.
This is Audible.
And it's this.
Ooh,
can you see that? You can't see that,
it's
can
done
you?
the synopsis thing.
There you go.
It's
Romeo and Jude, by Marty Ross, I believe his name is. Now, I started listening to it. I didn't really expect it to be anything.
It was a free thing.
It was free. It was on Audible, and it was around Romeo and Juliet, and I thought, okay, I'll give this a go. What I did not know was that this was going to be something so incredibly beautiful and moving and joyous and tragic, just like the play. And I rebought a copy because I can't find my copy that I had when I was 15. But no, Romeo and Jude is about a guy who's in his sort of mid to late 40s, I think.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, who is in an amateur drama company, and the company isn't doing particularly well. And he is asked by a friend of his if he can get their son to come into the company because he's left university, he's quite depressed, and
it's a bit all over the place.
They want to help him, and they don't really know what to do.
So coming to this group, having a schedule in a sense, and meeting new people will
help him.
Yeah,
and he goes, okay, fine, I'll I'll invite him. The next play they're doing is Romeo and Juliet, and Raymond is cast as Romeo.
Raymond is the guy.
He's the guy.
He's 40s,
he's completely nonplussed by this. He's like, I can't do this. I'm in my late 40s. And Miranda, who is their director, says, well, I don't care. You're the best actor we've got, and I need a decent Romeo. You're doing this.
Yeah.
And then Jude, the son, gets cast as Juliet.
Yeah. So he's about in his 20s.
I think he's about 22, 23 years old. And as with all these things, Raymond and Jude fall in love. And there's a lot of talk in the play about, certainly from Jude's father and his cousin, Tyrone, Tybalt,
yeah.
That, Raymond is a dirty old man, that he's molesting him, seducing him. And that actually is not the case at all.
Yeah.
Jude is a grown man, for a start. He's 22, 23 years old. He is, he's very sure of who he is. He's an openly gay man, and he sees something in Raymond.
Yeah.
that he loves,
Yeah.
and he falls in love with him. And Raymond similarly falls in love with Jude, but he has to fight through a lot of internalized homophobia to get to that first.
Yeah.
And when he processes that and gets through that, their relationship is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And because it's a Romeo and Juliet sort
Stuff
of stuff happens.
I don't.
And
Right.
things
Here's
get
the
out
thing.
of their control.
Laura told me about it, and I'd like to listen to it. I haven't got Audible, but I'm going to sign up when I get back tomorrow and download it, because we've listened to the first episode, because you said it was 10 episodes. But
It's 12.
12. Each
12.
episode is about half an hour long.
Half an hour long.
So you've got it in segments.
It's 5.5 hours long.
Yeah.
And I listened to the whole thing straight through.
Yeah.
The day I got it.
Yeah. So
I
I've
loved it.
listened to the first episode. So you've had the kind of backgrounds of the characters. Jude has been has made an appearance, and Ray has talked to him and kind of convinced him. Well, not convinced him. He said, "I'll come if I see if I'm free." You know, kind of.
He's invited.
He hasn't committed to it. But he, you know. So yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I think you know, for the free trial, download it and see what I think of it.
And the way that Marty Ross wrote it, Jude discovers things about himself as well as Raymond. And it's done without judgment, without, you know, these two people, although Jude is a lot younger than Ray, they are equals in a lot of ways. And part of the reason why I loved it was I loved the exploration of an older man discovering his sexuality. Discovering that he is more than he thought he was. Yeah. And because of this play, because of the beauty of the words of this play, and the things that are brought up from the play, it just all worked. And it was so wonderful. I loved it.
It's very interesting having this kind of a retelling, in a sense, of Romeo and Juliet.
It is. It's not a strict retelling.
No, obviously it's not. But it's interesting that the way that he approached it, and you wouldn't think, an Amdram drama group for Romeo and Juliet is in, you know, a sort of retelling of Romeo and Juliet. You'd never think that.
No, and, you know, it explores things like toxic masculinity. It explores, that odd idea that a man is a man and it can't have anything feminine about him.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say about this play, if you are interested in listening to it, is that there is homophobic and transphobic violence in it. So if that is not something that you're able to process or want to listen to, then it's probably not a good idea. But having said that, it is for a purpose. It is for a purpose. However, the play itself is so wonderful. Listening to Owen Teale, who played Sir Alistair in Game of Thrones, who gave the order for Jon Snow's thing at the end of season 5, and I won't spoil that if you don't know what I'm talking about. But him
for his fate, that's the way I say his
fate at the end of season 5, and a young man called Matthew Tennyson, who is the great grandson of Alfred Lord Tennyson, who is beautiful.
He's been in a variety of things.
I don't really know much about him.
I don't know much about him, but I recognised him when I saw because there's a video. If you go on YouTube, there's a couple of videos. One that's the filming of some graphic stuff that happens, so to see how the actors do it, and another one which is interviews with the two main guys and the director, I think, and possibly the writer as well. It's only like a couple of minutes long, but I recognised him. So I think he's done some stuff.
I think he's more of a theatre actor than a TV actor.
I think that's probably what I possibly know him from.
Owen Teale has done loads. He's been in Morse, he's been in Summer Murders.
I love him in Stella.
Yeah.
He was absolutely brilliant in Stella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he tends to play quite aggressive men.
But he's not in Stella.
But he isn't at all in this.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
I like that when you have actors that you suddenly see, because you're so used to seeing them one way, and then you see them do something that's completely different, and it really opens your eyes to.
Well, it's like Richard Attenborough playing John Christie in 10 Rillington Place, because you're used to him being so lovely and cuddly and warm, and to see him play a total psychopath. Yeah. It's chilling, but I get what you mean. Yeah. But the reason why I wanted to make this video 10 minutes in is...
well, no, you've promoted the drama.
I wanted to talk about our favourite Shakespeare plays, and I am in total defence of Romeo and Juliet. Mm-hmm. I am so sick of this internet sort of contempt for this play.
I think the whole thing... Hang on. Throwing your books about.
Sorry.
I think the whole feeling that you have that on the internet about, I say, the contempt of it, is because it's very much in the school system. It is thrust down your throat, pretty much at the age of about 14.
But that's when I found it, though.
Yeah, but I think it's the way in which it's kind of taught, the way it's kind of Romeo and Juliet is your first thing that you get, to do with Shakespeare. But there's lots of other Shakespeare. I remember when I came to GCSE English, and there were 2 classes for our year. One of them was told they were going to get Macbeth. One of them was told we were going to get Romeo and Juliet. I desperately wanted to do Macbeth because I knew Romeo and Juliet so well. And literally, the teachers in front of us flipped a coin, and I got the Romeo and Juliet class. So I sat there, and I was like, we were watching the films, and I was mouthing along with them because I knew what the class I could do, the tasks in class like the back of my hand. And it was so
remember
easy.
I did Romeo and Juliet as well.
I was desperate to do Macbeth,
and it was the year that the DiCaprio film came out.
Yeah,
I was 15.
We watched the DiCaprio film as part of our thing because it was 3 years later.
It still stands up. It's 20 years old, and it's still one of the best versions of it.
One of the best, definitely. That I think it's that thing, because I remember my classmates were very much like, oh god, because of the passages and all the analysis, and it was overemphasized. You have to analyze every line to figure out what he's saying to be able then to translate in your head, and I think that puts a negative thing on how it's conveyed that it needs to be taught.
I saw a sort of
Cliff Notes.
I saw a Cliff Notes book where they had literally translated it on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
the translation was dumbed down, completely dumbed down. But I think. For me, I think because I am of the DiCaprio generation. I mean, when I was 15, Leonardo was where it was at.
Yes.
He was Romeo. He was Jack. He was...
He wasn't quite Jack yet.
No, he did Titanic after Romeo and Juliet. But I was blown away by that film. I loved that film, and of course
the way that Baz conveyed the world
was fantastic.
And it was so clever how he just did little things like he said, instead of using swords, he used guns, and the name references that get said.
The brand of the guns, the longsword,
was the longsword, and it was branded on the gun. So it little things like that
to make its world building
exactly,
really, and
exactly.
I still love the kind of Catholic iconography of it all. I love the soundtrack. Still fucking slays my life. I still love
his use of colour. His cinematography. He's always been good with. It's really strange because when you look at like Strictly Ballroom, it was the dancing Romeo and Juliet. It was the talk, the soundtrack, and that, and then Moulin Rouge. It was the colour. He really he chooses something and he puts everything into that.
That's why it takes him so long to make films.
Yeah,
because it takes him years.
And then look at
Gatsby was amazing. But no, but then I love the Zeffirelli film but for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the Zeffirelli film, but I remember watching it because you used to, because this was the thing, we used to watch all this stuff together.
Yeah.
So it was like, you go like, oh, I want to watch Zeffirelli, and it's like, okay, we'll watch it this evening. And we'd sit in your room and we'd watch it. So I don't mind it, it's not my favourite, but if it's on, I'll sit and watch it.
It's very of its time in the way it's
The way that it's acted.
But I've got to say, I love Olivia Hussey's performance as Juliet.
I do like her, yeah.
I like Claire Danes.
Yeah.
But
there's some bits of Claire Danes' one where I'm just a little irked by the way that she says some lines, but then I absolutely adore her Little Stars speech.
Yeah.
The way that she says that and how she's a bit giddy, yet she's still keeping her cool. She's not the 14-year-old ditzy kind of all over the place kind of girl, which sometimes Juliet can be conveyed as being. And yeah, Olivia's one, especially when she's told she's getting married and everything, how she becomes this such strength.
I love how in that scene she goes to the nurse for comfort, and then when the nurse betrays her, you see her become porcelain.
And she's like with Claire Danes. I love it when she does go to Freya and she puts the gun to her head and she does that great moment.
Yeah.
But you can see like she is properly like shaking, like she's almost like she's having a breakdown, which is a good interpretation. But then I kind of see that Juliet at that point, she's changed. She's taking control. She's taking control, whereas Claire Danes one, she's not quite there yet. So that's what I mean. So I don't feel negative about Claire Danes' interpretation of Juliet. It's just some bits of it. Just I kind of go a bit about. But that is me trying to be very picky.
I think from my point of view as well, I don't see Romeo and Juliet as the insta love story. I see Romeo and Juliet as the story of children who are in every fundamental way failed by the adults around them.
Yeah.
They're failed by their parents, they're failed by their caretakers.
Yeah.
And it's just tragic to think that happens. And I find myself feeling angry with their parents.
I like especially that the Leonardo DiCaprio version, they play with emotion.
Yeah.
For every character.
I love Paul Sorvino as Lord Capulet.
Yeah, like Lord Capulet, how he's so angry at Juliet, yet he's so sad with Tybalt, how he's so shocked when he gets slapped across the face for trying to cause a fight. For Lady Tybalt, when she gets slapped, and how you can see how emotional she is in saying goodbye to her daughter for the last time, even though she doesn't know it's good. But you know that thing of that even Romeo, I love. That's the one line of the Zeffirelli one that does annoy me is when Romeo finds out that Juliet has died and he says, "I defy you, stars," and he just kind of looks up and goes, "I defy you, stars," and that's it. Whereas the Leonardo DiCaprio one, he's
devastated. He's absolutely devastated.
And it's amazing to listen to,
if you see that scene as a whole, and he's sat there in his caravan writing his poetry, he sees Balthazar, and he's so excited to see Balthazar, and they're kind of wrestling a little bit, and
he's laughing and tussling, and he just Balthazar pushes him away, and there's a gap, and he's like,
and he just says what he says, and he just like collapses in on himself. It's fan bloody tastic.
Yeah, and Balthazar then tries, because he grabs his gun, and Balthazar tries to stop him,
and he won't be stopped.
And Romeo even puts the gun towards him, points the gun towards him, and says, have you had a letter from the priest? And he says, no. So
and then he makes the decision that he's going to be with her.
You can see it in his eyes. It's like it changes. Juliet, I will lie with you tonight. You will be tonight. Yeah,
I'll lie with you tonight. Yeah, I mean, I do. I love the Baz Luhrmann version. I watched the version with Douglas Booth and Haley Steinfeld, and I wanted to bleach my brain.
I told you it was awful.
It was so bad.
Told you it was awful.
The end. What is that thing where she's like, she
She defies gravity.
She literally does, right? Because she's got him in her arms. She stabs herself.
And then she kind of slumps
forward.
And she's on her knees with this grown man in her arms. She slumps forwards and she just stops and defies gravity. And that's the statuesque form that her parents
The only two good things I would say about that film are Paul Giamatti as the friar. He's fantastic.
He's the only decent actor.
And Damien Lewis as Lord Capulet.
He's all right. Do you know who I want to sing praises for that? The bloody composer for drowning out their dialogue. Because there are points where the music drowns out the dialogue, and I'm like, thank God. See, at the moment, because I went to the cinema to see that, I especially went to the cinema.
Oh, you poor thing! You spent 10 quid on it.
Well, no, because I have an unlimited card, so it doesn't matter. So because I could go as many times as I want. But I went in and I sat there, and I was like, and obviously the opening part happened, and then literally the dialogue went, the Capulets and the Montagues are having a horse race to find out who is the best house. That literally you hear those words and I'm like, what the fuck? And I had a large tub of ice cream. I ate that as fast as I could and I went out and got more because I was like, no, I'm the only way I could get through this is with extra ice cream.
You see, the golden rule with Shakespeare, you can cut the text, but you don't change the text.
Yeah.
You don't say you instead of the.
You don't reorder lines. Do you remember the balcony scene? How he went and reordered lines?
You don't give Romeo Juliet's lines. You don't give Juliet Romeo's lines. This man was a fucking genius. He let the genius do the work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's not allowed. But anyway, Romeo and Juliet is my favourite tragedy.
Okay.
What is yours?
I've got two, and I can't decide between the two. I have a great love for Othello and Macbeth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both of them are obviously very different from Romeo and Juliet. Very different. But I can't help but be drawn to them. And I don't know if that means there's something very dark in me or something.
No, but they are very dark plays.
Because they are very, very dark plays. But there's something about those plays that I can't help but be drawn to. I've got like 3 different radio versions of Macbeth and I think 4 or 5 different Othellos on my iPod.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell them who you're seeing next week?
On Tuesday, on my birthday, I'm going to see Christopher Eccleston perform Macbeth. It's on my birthday. I've got a front row centre seat and there is a post-show discussion afterwards. I am very excited. But I think with Macbeth, I think it's the manipulations within both of those plays that is so interesting, with the tussle, as it were, of Iago wanting to have what Othello has, basically. He doesn't feel that Othello deserves it, and he's going to do whatever he can to break this man and destroy his soul, kind of thing. And with Macbeth, the manipulation, you could say, of Lady Macbeth over her husband for planting the seed in his mind of committing this murder in order to get what the witches said in their prophecy.
Screw their courage to the sticking place and will not fail.
Yeah, I love that line.
That's a great line.
And I love the fact in separate thing in Hamilton, screw your courage to the sticking place is part of Take the Break. That's so perfect, that line for that song. Anyway, I love. I also love the women in those plays. Obviously, some of them are a bit I have, they could have a bit better representation in some ways.
Desdemona is very
Desdemona, she's
simple.
yeah.
She's brave,
She's extremely brave.
Because she says to her father, I love this man, I want to marry this man. I know you don't, you respect him, but you don't like him because he's a Moor, but I love him and I want to be with him. That is very brave. What bothers me about...
And even, but what bothers me, and you could say it is still in a sense brave, is that even when Othello's starting to change because of the corruption of Iago and he's being really quite horrible to her, she still sticks with him.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see that as a bravery thing, but at the same time it's like, are you really that stupid? Sometimes it's like, oh darling,
but she's married to him.
I know, and that's the thing. So it's very hard to put Desdemona in a box, in a category of what defines her character, because she is brave, but at the same time she's incredibly naive and silly, but she's so strong at the same time. And Lady Macbeth is just...
She's in another league, she is.
Yeah, she's in another league.
She's in a totally other league.
But the fact that he made these women so strong, so prominent, it's very interesting.
He doesn't always do that.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't at all.
I mean, Taming of the Shrew is still...
Taming of the Shrew...
thorn in the claw.
Taming of the Shrew is the weird one. Because I like it, but then I don't like the ending because of what he's saying, that a woman should do whatever her husband says, and not have a brain, and not do what they want to do. And that's the right thing. Which also probably reflected society at that time, or whatever, or, stuff that was going on in his life, and that his wife should be obedient to, stuff like that. I get why he's conveying that, but then I don't know if it's just because of the modern viewer looking in, it's the ending's a bit... Yeah. It has its flaws. It has real flaws. But yeah, I think also it's interesting thinking about Shakespeare psychologically, where he was when he was writing these plays.
Yeah.
He was in a very dark place at the time. His son had died, Hamlet had died, while he was away in London, or he was sort of on tour or something. He wasn't around, and by the time he got home, his son had already been buried, because it was the amount of time it had got the message to him, and then getting back.
They would have buried their dad very quickly.
Exactly, at that time as well. Yeah. So and it's very interesting that he chose Hamlet. The name Hamlet for
Hamlet, the play, is
his greatest plays.
It's such a strange play, because I still don't really know what it's about. Well, I know what it's about, obviously, but I don't know what he's trying to say.
It's one of those plays. Every time you come to it, either listening to it, seeing it on stage, or whatever, you kind of see different things.
Yeah.
And the different interpretations of it are very interesting. So, like, there was the Andrew Scott version that was shown. I think it was the Easter, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the Easter. It was Easter. Because there was really the production. It wasn't too cut down. It wasn't too bad.
It was just like the essentials.
Yeah. Okay. It was.
Hamlet
the play is usually about 4 hours long, and they cut it down to about 3. So maybe just over 3.
Yeah.
So it was cut down, but not massively compared to other productions. It's not massively cut down. Anyway, and in that version, Andrew Scott is Hamlet. I found it very interesting, the ending, because in the very first scene, you see Hamlet putting on his watch, and he's obviously getting ready for the party. And at the end, when everybody's like dead and dying, his dad appears, and everybody who's died one by one stands up and takes their watch off and hands it over to him. He beckons to a door, which is to heaven, for them to go. And Ophelia's there. She's in a wedding dress. her dad is
It's
there
like a
and her
party,
brother. It's a
isn't it?
party. It's a wedding party, and everyone goes in one by one, including his uncle. And then when Hamlet goes to, he pulls down his sleeve and he hasn't got a watch on. And it's like, you're not going there. So it's like, so Hamlet's going to hell then. It's that interpretation because of what the director chose to do with that. That was interesting. But the thing with interpretation is it allows you to explore things, especially with Shakespeare, certain aspects, that may not into. And I'm so excited because this version of Macbeth I'm seeing on Tuesday, the witches are being played by children. I've never seen that before.
That's really creepy.
Yeah.
That is really creepy. I hate anything like that.
And
It's
apparently this version as well, they've done it so there's like a clock, digital kind of clock as part of the background, and it just runs down and down and down and down and down until the murder happens. And it's, you're running out of time, you've got to do this Macbeth, and it builds up the pressure and pressure and pressure of what he has to do, and then it finally happens. So, yeah, I mean...
See, I think part of the reason why I loved Romeo and Jude so much was because I also picked up Shakespeare's sonnets, and I absolutely adore this cover. I think that is so beautiful. And I had heard this, obviously, like in the ether, but I didn't know how much thought had been put into it. Apparently, well, it is thought that Shakespeare was possibly bisexual.
Yeah.
Which
that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No, having read some of these since last night, it doesn't surprise me either.
If you think about it, he was working in an industry where there was no women allowed.
Yeah.
At all. He spent like all of his time around men. Things happen. It's like people don't like to acknowledge the fact that when there was testing done on his pipes, and there was some drugs found in there that I think it was possibly cannabis or something. Obviously that's not tobacco, and people like to go, oh no, he never would have done that. It's like, hello, he's a human being. Who cares if he took drugs? But there are certain aspects of his character that people don't like to acknowledge.
Yeah. I mean, let me just read Sonnet 20.
Yeah.
I mean, this is that. This is essentially, this is all about like gender bending, I suppose. Sonnet 20 is: a woman's face with nature's own hand painted, hast thou, the master mistress of my passion. A woman's gentle heart, but not acquainted with shifting change, as is false women's fashion. An eye more bright than theirs, less false in rolling, gilding the object whereupon it gazeth. A man in hue, all hues in his controlling, which steals men's eyes and women's souls amazeth. And for a woman wert thou first created, till nature, as she wrought thee, fell a doting, and by addition me of thee defeated, by adding one thing to my purpose nothing. But since she pricked thee out for women's pleasure, mine be thy love, and thy love's use thy treasure.
Yeah.
In other words,
I like you.
You're really pretty. I like you.
Yeah.
You should have been a woman, but you're a man, and that's fine.
And another thing that people don't like to acknowledge is the fact that he was commissioned to write those sonnets for a 14-year-old boy.
I mean, we have to also understand that 14 then is not what 14 is now.
Yeah, no, at 14, I mean, actually a girl at that time could legally be married from the age of 11. So that's why, like, Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, she's 14 years old.
Yeah.
And that's another thing people don't like to acknowledge.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
these days, Romeo and Juliet is not played by 14. It's probably
No.
like 17, 18-year-olds.
I'm going to see
But-
it on Thursday as well.
Oh, God.
Tu-
It's my favourite.
Tuesday it's Macbeth, Thursday it's Romeo and Juliet.
I don't have any shame in that. I love
No,
it.
you
I just
shouldn't feel
think
shame
it's
for
so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just so lovely. But
And what the strength that I get from it also of friendship.
yeah. Mercutio is completely in love with Romeo too. To me, I've always thought that.
Yeah.
I've always thought that Mercutio was in love with Romeo.
Yeah.
But I've had a good day. I've got these, and I'm happy.
So we've talked about tragedies. What about comedies?
Much Ado About Nothing.
I do like Much Ado About Nothing too. It's really
so
really
funny.
good play.
It's a great play.
The Kenneth Branagh film is absolutely fantastic.
Still one of my favourites.
Still one of my favourites as well. I do have a soft spot for As You Like It.
Yeah.
As well, another one, gender bending.
Gender bending, yeah.
He wasn't. It kind of feels like when you look at it more, look at his plays and more of an emphasis. He was totally open for. I mean, you think if Shakespeare was alive now, he'd be obsessed with Twitter. We've agreed
I think
on
he'd
that.
love Twitter.
He'd absolutely love Twitter, but I think he would be someone who he would fit in our world quite easy because he, very open to all different sexualities, nationalities, ethnicity.
But I think I was reading that our concepts of sexuality or tease is a relatively new thing. I mean, the word heterosexual was not invented until the 1890s.
Really, I didn't know that. Oh.
So obviously you have homosexual and you have bisexual, and now there is asexual and transgender and so many other things in between. And I think that's part of the reason why I loved Romeo and Jude so much, is that it's not necessarily about the label. And there's a cultural thing as well, certainly on the internet, that you kind of have to know and accept who you are by the time you're 21.
Oh,
and that isn't true.
Yeah.
Nobody, I don't think anybody really...
You cannot know every aspect about you.
I'm sure there are people that are very, very, very sure about who they are, and that's wonderful.
Yeah,
but I think for other people it takes time.
Yeah.
And that's also okay.
Yeah. Well, that's
what I'm saying.
What I meant by that was that you could have an idea of this is me, this is who I am, and then something happens which opens your eyes to think, actually, do I really know who I am?
Yeah.
And you have that with Ray, like you said, how he's in his 40s and he's always, seen himself.
He's always seen himself as a straight
man, and then he meets Jude, and
he falls in love with him. Absolutely adores Jude. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that thing of, like I said, it's not a negative thing, knowing who you are by that age. But I think you have to be open to realise that you may not be who you think you are.
Exactly. And the fluidity of sexuality and gender. I mean, speaking for myself, my gender has never been something that has ever bothered me. I am female.
Yeah.
But I know, I've never discussed it with her, but I know someone who is transgender, and she is who she is. I've never asked her about her previous life before she transitioned, because it's none of my business. But if she wanted to talk to me about it, of course I would talk to her about it.
It's the same thing with me. I'd be totally comfortable to sit and have that conversation.
I think that must be so incredibly confusing at first, to feel like your body is not yours in the way that you feel inside. I think when you have people who are going through that kind of confusion, whether it's their sexuality or their gender, you must be compassionate and also appreciate that people can change. People can say, yes, I'm like Ray does.
Yeah.
He's straight, and he's completely freaked out about the idea of playing Romeo opposite a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But and that is what it is. But then he stops seeing Jude as a male and sees Jude.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we just have to, as a society, and we are getting better, we have to start being more open that people can change and people, you know, it's all fluid.
Yeah.
Everything is fluid.
And I think that's what is so interesting with Shakespeare's plays, that there is so many possibilities with all of his plays, how you portray things, how you where you take things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why there's still the appeal of adapters to take a Shakespeare play and go with it and see what happens. Like, I saw a production of As You Like It at the RSC with my dad. We were there because Mum was doing like a craft fair thing with Michelle, a family member, and we went to the theatre for the afternoon rather than just sitting around doing nothing, and it was absolutely fantastic. And at the end, because there was so much music and everything, and they had mud on the ground, it's proper mud to do with the forest floor, and then you heard the effect of thunder and that, and they put water, they actually ran, and it became a rave, and they were having a rave and dancing in the mud and snogging each other and throwing mud at each other, and it was this fantastic moment. And look at like The Tempest.
That was amazing.
That was absolutely astonishing, the way that they interpreted
Is The Tempest
that
a tragedy? I don't think it is it?
No, it's classed as a comedy. But it's not.
It's
a
not
comedy.
comedy.
It's one of the awkward ones.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those grey area stories. But it was his last play, and I don't know if maybe they cast it as a comedy because they wanted to say, go out smiling, kind of thing, with Shakespeare's final play. I don't know. But yeah, it's not a comedy, but then at the same time, I don't feel it's a tragedy.
No, it's not.
I honestly don't.
It's not.
Yeah.
But
I was telling Laura how there's a drama to do with the writing of the sonnets, which is on YouTube. Oh gosh, what was it called? We found the title of. It's something in shame.
Time of Waste.
The Time of Shame.
Time of Shame.
Yeah, that was it. It was shame. It was shame.
Shame.
The Time of Shame. And it had Rupert Graves in it playing Shakespeare. And I kind of remember it, but I can't remember seeing all of it. But it was very interesting, and it was told how he was commissioned to write the sonnets and such. And from watching the trailer last night, there's bits of it that they've changed about his life, which it's dramatic license if they want to do that. But yeah, it didn't look too bad, and it's on YouTube. So yeah,
I'll watch that when I get home.
That. But yeah, we just love Shakespeare.
I do.
This is like our I think third or fourth video we've done about Shakespeare.
I've got to say, this is part of what I love about these plays, is that you can put them in any setting and they work.
Yeah.
With any kind of person,
That's why there's
and they
still
work.
The appeal. There's still because he doesn't set specific definitions, I think. So, for example, like compare it to an Inspector Calls. You had the very strict definition that they had to be of a certain social class compared to the inspector
in a certain
time in order for it to make sense. So you can't work outside of that perimeter.
No.
You just can't. It won't work otherwise.
It has to be in 1912.
Whereas
it has to be,
you can either interpret it to be from at the time it was written, all the way to today and onward. It doesn't matter. You can play. Okay, some interpretations have been awful across multiple of his plays, but they gave it a go.
Yeah. See,
And I'm so excited to see
we were
the interpretations next week. I'll be seeing.
we were sent a trailer by a friend of ours about a modern interpretation of Little Women.
Little Women, made to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the book,
And
set in modern day. And it was like,
is that going to work? The reason why we're both a bit reticent about it is because no 21st century father would walk into their house and go, "Oh, how I miss my Little Women."
And no offense to writers who choose to write out by hand, but there was the bit where the book burning part, and it's like, if Jo is like a 15-year-old girl, modern
she'd use
day,
a laptop.
She'd use a laptop.
Yeah. So it would be better if Amy threw her laptop into Walden Pond.
Yeah. She smashed it on the floor.
She smashed a laptop up. Or, it was something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it was
from the trailer. It kind of implied that Beth's going to get cancer or something. The way that they kind of...
I mean, quite honestly, it can't be worse than the one that was on at Christmas, but let's not talk about that. Because, goddamn.
That was awful.
That was terrible.
That was awful.
But Shakespeare.
Yes.
We go off on such tangents.
That thing that you can have interpretations that just don't quite work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's true, it happens in Shakespeare, and then you've got gems, absolute gems, like the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet. I've got lots of theatre productions, Irish Sea and Globe productions that they've done, and that. So I've got so much, and other ones. Another gem, The Tempest.
Yeah.
And how they brought modern technology into the theatre and
I do wish
what can be done.
The only thing about Romeo and Juliet is I do wish that they would cast, like, Juliet is always a really thin, pretty girl.
Mm.
I mean, I've seen it done where it's, a black girl, an Indian girl. That doesn't matter. She's always thin and pretty and petite.
There was a series the BBC did, I think it's a few years ago now, and it was called like Breaking the Boundaries.
Yeah.
And it was different women, completely amateur, going to play Juliet kind of different nights.
Yeah.
And one of them was an obese girl. Mm-hmm. One of them, she had cancer. She was completely bald. One of them had cerebral palsy. Mm-hmm. And it was about one of them, I think she had like dwarfism as well. It was about exploring Shakespeare and bringing in different types of women than what we're used to seeing in theatre, types of bodies and that. It was really interesting. Yeah. And their reactions to it and how the audience reacted to them as well.
What did the audience think?
I think that from what I can remember, because it was years ago, they really enjoyed it and how it helped the women themselves, because they were completely amateur. It was the first thing that they'd ever done, so it wasn't like they'd had previous experience or anything, and how it helped them with their confidence.
It's funny, talking about that. I recently watched a film that I loved. It's got nothing to do with Shakespeare, but talking about that, how seeing different types of people being put together. This film called Film Stars Don't Die in Liverpool, with Annette Bening, who is 60, and Jamie Bell, who is 32.
Oh, this is isn't this a Doris Day?
No, not Doris Day. Her name was Gloria Graham.
Oh, Gloria Graham.
She was an Oscar-winning actress in the 40s and 50s, in the 50s. And when she was 52, she met Peter something, I can't remember what his name is, and he was in his early 30s, and they got together and they were lovers and they had an incredibly passionate relationship. And there are scenes of Jamie Bell and Annette Bening in bed together. And you see like all the lines in her skin, and there's not to give anything away, but she's had to have surgery on her breasts, and he sees the lines, and you can see like all her breasts obviously are not a 20-year-old's anymore. Do you know what I mean? And I loved that you saw an older woman as a sexual being who loved the fact that her lover loved her, and the lover was so attracted to her personality, and he loved her body too. And I think that's really important going forward, that we see more of that, because actresses, once they get to about 40, their careers are essentially put on hold. Unless they are fuckable, they get nothing. Until they're old women like Judi Dench. And even she, who is like essentially acting royalty, you know, when was Goldeneye? Goldeneye was in like 1994.
I think it was probably about 96. Around the mid 90s.
But her career reignited her TV and film career. I mean, she's always been like a theatre staple.
But that film kind of put her into a category she'd never been before.
You don't see women, older women, as people who love sex, typically. On TV or in film. And I watched that, and it's so beautiful. And actually, there is a connection to Romeo and Juliet.
What's the connection?
Because in the film, she wants to audition for Juliet. And she's obviously she's an older woman, and he has that exact reaction, and she gets really angry with him because she interprets that as, well, you just don't think I can do it. And they have a row and ends up making love for the first time out of that row, and at the end he takes her to a theatre, and they do the first kiss scene.
Oh, how sweet!
And it is so wonderful, and it's like their scene together, and
that's sweet.
Again, that's another thing with Romeo and Juliet. And when you know the circumstances of why they're there, that scene is so poignant. And so, it's beautiful. So do you know what, haters? You can hate as much as you like. This is the shit as far as I'm concerned. It's wonderful. So that was that.
That was a good one. You're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to buy that today, and we can watch it.
Okay, well, we can have a walk.
It's $6.99 in HMV.
Sorry, the fact that you know exactly how much it is. Because I know if they have it in stock here.
It's a big bath. It's a big bath.
Big bath.
It's a big HMV in Bath.
Because Bath is a big bath and a mini bath. Anyway, I think we should stop there.
I think we should stop there. This was supposed to be like structured, and it just kind of went off.
Well, that's what happens with us, Laura, but we had a good time.
It
was
did.
all good. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this discussion about Shakespeare. And yeah.
I got this bookmark.
It's about Bath, not
It's about
Shakespeare.
Bath.
But yeah, if I remember, I'll put the video link to that drama in the description.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see you guys later then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.